The RP show continues. Hour 2 brought to you by Cool Bet Canada. Get up to $200 welcome bet bonus with the promo code RP200 at Cool Bet Canada. Mo Egger joins us, the very popular host of the Mo Egger radio show. How you doing, Mo?
I'm popular.
Hit with my viewers, you know you are. Don't play the humble card.
Wow.
You know that. You know that, Mo. How are you, buddy?
What? I'm good. Where are you getting ready to try out for the Cowboys or something? What's going on there?
That's my team.
Okay.
That's my team. I'm detaching with love. Do you know what that means, Mo? That phrase? I'm detaching with love from the Dallas Cowboys.
I've as somebody who's gone through a divorce, I do. Here's the thing. People may not know this, but you and I, became friends when we found the clip of you on the internet making fun of the Bengals because they were changing their uniforms.
Yep.
And you said you see this all the time. Team changes their uniform and the team still stinks. And then the Bengals went to the Super Bowl that year. So maybe the Cowboys need to change uniforms.
They need to change a lot of things. But I'm so glad that the internet brought you and I together. And it was so awesome making your acquaintance in person at the Super Bowl a couple of years ago in LA. But, the first week of the NFL preseason's behind us. Your Bengals, if I may call them that, got mollywopped by the Eagles on the weekend. Your quarterback, Joe Burrow, got into the game. What's your takeaway from that game?
Felt a lot like last year. We had seen that script play out before. The Bengals are playing their players who matter most. They're playing their starters more in the preseason because they've had such a hard time getting off to a fast start. They've started 0-2 each of the last 3 years, 0-3 last season. And so there's been an emphasis on a different type of training camp, but also on the starters playing in the preseason. So Joe played, and Joe looked like Joe Burrow. First team offense clicked. That was the case last year. Why did they miss the postseason? Because the defense was a train wreck. What happened on Thursday night? The defense was mostly a train wreck. Now, it's worth acknowledging there were some players who you expect to be on the field on September the 7th who were not on the field against Philadelphia. But, man, I think there's a lot of us who thought new defensive coordinator, a lot of the same guys. Let's see if this defensive coordinator can take some of those players and put them in a better position to have success. That didn't happen on Thursday, and so we're kind of doing what we did a lot last year, wondering, based on that one preseason game, is this going to be another year where the Bengals ask Joe Burrow to do a little bit too much?
Well, I know you talk about the Bengals ad nauseum, but that's why I have you on here to talk about the Bengals, obviously. And what was the story on Joe playing as much as he did? From what I understand, he wanted to get into the game and get the snaps, right?
Yeah. So if you go back through the first 5 years of Joe Burrow's NFL career, he's barely played in the preseason. He's had preseasons where he hasn't stepped on the field at all. And again, it comes back to the last 3 years. The Bengals offense has, in the first game of the season, looked very clunky, very unprepared. Now, part of it has been that Joe has always been coming off of something. A year ago, he was coming off of wrist surgery. The year prior to that, he had been dealing with a calf issue during training camp. The year prior to that, he had lost a lot of weight because he had an appendectomy right when training camp started. We're not dealing with any of that right now, but what you're hoping for is an offense that just operates more smoothly, operates with a little bit more cohesiveness than it has in recent years. And so the coaching staff and Joe Burrow have decided to emphasize playing him in the preseason. Now, I'm not sure he's going to play in the last preseason game, but he's going to play probably an entire half against the Washington Commanders a week from tonight. And it's not just Joe. It's the first team unit, top to bottom, I think is going to play a lot. So this is a result. I think if the coaching staff had their way, they wouldn't be doing this. But I think they're taking on the added risk of playing Joe Burrow and the other good players the Bengals have in the preseason. They're taking on that risk because they want the reward of getting off to a faster start. And let's be honest, the inability to get off to fast starts the last 2 years has kept them from the postseason, and the inability to get off to a fast start 3 years ago when they made the AFC Championship game is why that game was in Kansas City and not Cincinnati. So this team needs to play better in September, which is why more players who matter are playing in August.
Mo Egger with us from ESPN Cincinnati. Any training camp drama going on there? Did I lose you? Oh, he froze. I just looked up for a second. Did I freeze? No, we're fine. Hit refresh, Mo. There we go. Not the most flattering frozen screenshot of Mo Ager either. Hey, Mo, hit refresh. B-Man's. I can text him. Thank you, producer Corey. You're right. Ba, 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 ba. Please hit refresh. I always say please and thank you in my text messages. Please. It just came up as please hit Teresa. No, that's not. Autocorrect. Who's Teresa? I don't even know a Teresa. B-Mans writes that he says the latest season of The Quarterback on Netflix made me a bigger Burrow fan, rooting for him this year. Jeff the Stams fan says, does Mo have any comments on the death of Lonnie Anderson? Well, I do. My first crush, Jennifer Marlowe. I didn't think she'd ever die. At the age of 79, very hard to believe. Yeah, Mo's been on this show long enough and as many times that we don't get into the WKRP stuff anymore. At least we got him sitting there with a half, dopey look on his face. That's better than a black screen. Favorite WKRP character? Obviously, mine. Les Nessman, Herb Tarlick, Johnny Fever. Hey, there he is.
Hey, I'm back.
You got my text. Okay, I have a litany of questions from the viewers here. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Were you just talking about WKRP in Cincinnati while I was away?
Yeah, people want me to ask you about that. I said, you've been on this show many times. That's not even a thing with us anymore. Does that still come up in your life, WKRP?
Well, it did last week because Lonnie Anderson passed away. Also, we're using wireless from, I think, the same era as WKRP in Cincinnati in our building. Okay. Yeah, that when you work in radio in Cincinnati, you get that question once a day. But Lonnie Anderson passed away, who played Jennifer Marlowe on that show. And when I was 10, 11, 12 years old, that show was on first-run syndication. And I would watch it with my dad. And when Lonnie Anderson shows up on your TV screen and you're 11 years old, you start to feel things, Rod. I don't need to go into great detail, but you start to feel things. So, yes, we've talked a lot about that show in recent days.
She was my first crush, just so you know. Mm-hmm. So I know exactly. So the exact question from Jeff the Stamps fan says, does Mo have any comments on the death of Lonnie Anderson? I think we just heard them. I don't think we need to go any further down that road.
I have lots of comments that are probably not safe for this broadcast.
Lonnie Anderson aside, Jennifer Marlowe aside, who's your favorite character? We're assuming that's our favorite character. But her aside, who is your favorite character, WKRP?
It's got to be Johnny Fever because, and you're a radio guy too, Rod. Like all of us at some point have worked with some version of Johnny Fever, right? The jock who's like lived in every.
Yeah, he's worked 20 Johnny Fevers.
Right. He's worked for like 1,000 different stations. He's hopscotched around the country. He lives a little bit too hard. Like, yeah, the Johnny Fever, all of us who have worked in radio for a while have at some point in our life, we have intersected with a Johnny Fever.
Baby, if you've ever wondered. I've worked with Les Nessmans. I've worked with Herb Tarlicks. I've worked with him. Whoever wrote that was a genius.
I've worked with a lot of Herb Tarlicks.
Right. Right. BW in Edmonton wants to know, when is Mo coming up for a CFL football game?
I haven't really gotten a form. Well, I mean, you're never actually up there. You're always, every time I watch you, you're down in Florida. You got boats going by. So when are you going to be up there? And that will inform my decision as to whether or not I'll be up there.
Well, it will take some planning, not just a willy-nilly thing. But I will tell you, was that NFL? Yeah. Did you guys have a lockout in the NFL? I was trying to remember why Peter King came up as summer of 2014. He came up. Peter King did. Was it 2011? Okay.
2011, yeah.
Yeah, he went on a tour. That was cool.
Yeah. I would like to go up and see a game before Zach Collaros retires because he's a UC University of Cincinnati legend. So that would be I've been to Canada exactly twice. So I need to change that.
Where'd you go?
I went to Toronto for the International Bowl. UC University of Cincinnati played Western Michigan. at the Blue Jay Stadium. I think they still called it Sky Dome then, but I don't remember. That was January of 07. And then I went to Nova Scotia when I was a kid.
Nice, very nice part of the world. Yeah.
Very
2011.
nice. And I went to Windsor too when I was in college.
That's a very cool spot.
Yeah.
But Zach Collaros, that game that Peter King was at, Zach Collaros was quarterbacking Hamilton Tiger Cats against us, Saskatchewan. I called it, and Zach was sacked 9 times that day in a torrential monsoon, just so you know. So, he's doing good things with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Bengals aside, what's your number one NFL story this season as we get ready to kick off 2025?
So it sounds somewhat obvious, but I don't really think anybody is talking about it that much. It is in vogue to say that the Chiefs are going to miss the postseason. And I get it, right? They kind of walked a tightrope all season last year. Everybody's most recent memory of them is getting housed in the Super Bowl. But the Kansas City Chiefs had a great year last year, despite Patrick Mahomes not playing like Patrick Mahomes. And so I'll give you a little bit of a local example, if you don't mind here. The Reds had Joey Votto, Toronto native, right? For years and years and years and years. And in 2018, he had a good season, but he didn't have a good season by Joey Votto standards. And so we started to wonder, like, all right, is this a one-off? Is this an outlier? Does Joey go back to being the old Joey Votto? Do we have to sort of settle in for the new norm where Joey is good, but he's not superhuman? It's not an apples-to-apples comparison. The thing that I want to know most is, does last year's Patrick Mahomes become the new Patrick Mahomes, or does he go back to being Superman? Because, you still put the quarterbacks in the NFL in certain tiers, and most are still going to say, well, Patrick Mahomes is an A-lister. But he wasn't an MVP finalist last year. Josh Allen won the award. Lamar Jackson was. Joe Burrow was. Lamar wasn't because while he wasn't bad, he didn't play to his standards. Patrick Mahomes' season last year, most quarterbacks would give their non-throwing arm to have, but by his standard, the play wasn't nearly as good enough. What happens this year? Does he go back to being Superman, or does he have another season like last year where he's better than most, but maybe not as good as he needs to be? Among everything else in the NFL, that's what I think is most interesting. Does Patrick Mahomes play like Patrick Mahomes again? If he does, the Chiefs are going to be awesome. If he doesn't, I think they're vulnerable, and I think the way they played last year, even though they deserve a lot of credit for finding out ways to win, the way they played last year, I'm not sure is sustainable. I do think it looks like they have fixed their offensive line, but more than any other storyline in the NFL this year, I'm interested in whether or not Patrick Mahomes starts playing like Patrick Mahomes again.
2 MVP awards, 3 Super Bowls, and he stepped on the Cardinals' throat 48 seconds into the game this weekend. I think he'll be fine. Laverne in Swift Current wants to know who your surprise NFL team will be.
The New England Patriots. I think they have a great coach, a talented quarterback, and I think they had a great offseason. I think it would be unsurprising if the Dolphins were not good. I think it would be unsurprising if the Jets were not good in that division. We'll see. But I think the Patriots, I'm a big Mike Vrabel guy. Drake May, I think you walked away from his rookie season feeling like as much as they have stuff to fix in New England, they've got their quarterback. I think they had a good draft. I think they had a good offseason. I think they have a good coach. I think they have a talented quarterback. I don't think it would be surprising to see them double their win total to go from 4 to 8. And if you're at 8, then you're not that far away from at least contending for a playoff spot. They, to me, are one of the more interesting teams to watch based on what happened last year. I think they could surprise some people. I think on a weekly basis, they're going to be hard to play.
Funny what a coach can do. It's funny what a good coach can do in Mike Vrabel. Sure. But Kate, I wasn't clear on your thought on the Dolphins. You think they're not going to be good like everybody else?
No, I think it would be unsurprising if they weren't good. I think it would be unsurprising if they were pretty good because they still have a good offensive weaponry. But I think I think if the Dolphins ended up a 6-win team, I don't think anybody would be shocked, right? So my point being is I think there's 4 winnable games in that division for the New England Patriots. I don't think they're good enough to beat Buffalo, but I think there's 4 winnable games in that division. If they get 3, then they've got to find 5 wins somewhere else to double their win total.
I'm not scoffing. I'm snickering a little bit because I was in Miami last year at the end of the season when Stephen Ross, the owner, announced they're keeping Mike McDaniel and Chris Greer, and they were ready to burn the stadium down. Right? Like the people there in Miami, South Florida they're raging, Mo. They're raging. I don't know what they're like in Cincinnati, but they better be good. And they're not, I don't think, gonna be good. That's a raging fan base there.
I think if we were to take odds on first coach to be fired, I think it would be not unwise to put the money on Mike McDaniel.
Everybody's we're randomly asking our NFL guys who their surprise team will be, and a lot of guys are saying Vegas. How do you feel about that?
Good, because Pete Carroll's a Hall of Fame coach. They've upgraded a quarterback. They're just in a really hard division. Kansas City is still going to be tough to play. I think there's a lot of folks who really expect the Denver Broncos to take a major step forward this year. They're certainly going to be good defensively. I like what I saw from Bo Nix last season. And then there's the Chargers. The Chargers are fascinating to me from the standpoint of they have a great coach and they have a quarterback that everybody is waiting, right? We're all waiting for Justin Herbert to enter that top pantheon of QBs, and it hasn't quite happened. They were atrocious defensively at the end of the season last year, and that was before a whole bunch of dudes left that team who were not among their worst players, including Joey Bosa. But, they're a tough out. I think the Raiders, I think that division has a very good chance. You and I talked about last year, the AFC North. Was the AFC North again going to be the best division in football? And they had 3 teams with winning records. This year, I think it would be unsurprising if we said that about the AFC West.
While I have you, because I don't know when I'll get you again. Hopefully it's soon, but I have not talked to you since Pete Rose was reinstated posthumously. Go ahead.
I'm not hard to book on the show. I might be hard to get an internet connection. All you have to do is say, Mo, do you want to come? I've never said no.
You've never said no.
Correct.
Pete Rose. Reinstatement.
Yes.
What do you think?
I think it's I think he's going to have a really hard time getting the votes needed in the committee he's going to be subjected to in the winter of 2027. I think I listened to Tim Kirchin, the great baseball writer, does a podcast, and he was talking about how he was referencing Frank Robinson. Frank Robinson is obviously passed, and Frank Robinson and Pete Rose were close. And Frank Robinson said, there are a lot of us who will say over our dead body before Pete Rose ever goes into the Hall of Fame. And I think that committee is not going to be made up of baseball writers. There's going to be a lot of Hall of Famers and former players on that committee. I think Pete's going to have a more difficult time than people think to get in. But we'll see. That's going to be up for vote in December of 2027. So we have a lot of time to debate it.
20 seconds with you. Are you voting yes or no if you had a vote?
Would I put him in the Hall of Fame?
Yeah.
Yes, I would put Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame. 4,256 hits. I would have no issue if his plaque made mention of why he was exiled from baseball, but I am of the belief that what he did statistically trumps, as a player, trumps anything he did after his playing days.
Well thought out. Well thought out. Thank you, Mo. We got to run. Great job. Keep in touch, brother. We air all across Ohio on Game Plus TV, and we'll be right back.